All right, let's see if this lets me stay live or whether it drops me. This is the 7th time. My apologies for this. Just seeing if it lets me stay here. Let's see if we can put it into place. Sorry for my palm. Hey, a couple of faces and it's not kicking me out. All right, let me see if I can actually find this now. Let me tilt this so it doesn't catch. Holy cow, sorry about this. The test 15 minutes ago went perfectly. So rebooted the router, rebooted the modem. Yeah, it got 11 seconds. Okay, let me delete that. Keep it there. Let's just see what we got here. Okay. Welcome. Wow, there's only about a 3-second lag for the chat. Give everyone a few seconds to come in here. And, oh, screw it, just get this down low. I don't care anymore. Why is there not tequila in my glass? It's just water. All right. Everybody, welcome. Chris Clash, Tofu Flavored Gogurt. Hello, Mitch, Scott Bogfolk, welcome back. Tobai, Ricky Mahoney, Mark Wilson. Stian, hello, welcome back. Dave Flowers, V-Dog. And how much can I tilt these? I only have to tilt them a little bit, I think. Okay, good. Okay. Nick McMahon, hello. Dave Dalton, howdy. All right. Get some of the stuff here. Give it a few seconds to come in. Florida Vapes, good evening. Alex Madonna, hello. Evan, thanks for joining us. Aaron Smith. Mark Lane, hello. Keith P, thanks for joining us. Again, everyone, sorry for the confusion. Just 15 minutes ago, the test worked perfectly. I tried to get on, kabing, it doesn't want to work. I've had on and off problems the past month. No one can find the issue, of course. But it's never come along during, this is number 10 for the power hours. Never had a problem with any live or anything. And then kabang, Stefan Sarg, hello. Mark Wilson, did I say hi before? Mitch, hello. Yeah, Mitch, I wish I came up with it too, but a couple of my patrons came up with the power hour name. Welcome. What we have got, topside, non-squonk mode, Goon 1.5. I've got some Hit That Donut chocolate that I was having with some coffee before. This left me inappropriately wired right now to deal with this. And then after this, I'll probably head back to just some 70 VG because I'll be nice and stressed out and I don't want to waste my juice on that. But on the intake dual with an eFusion DNA 200 eFusion Duo. And I try a little dripping in here and we'll get to our topic. I would ask that everybody, Alexander, I don't know if you're still here. He was in the other one. My moderator for tonight. Looks like he didn't make it over to this one. Hopefully he's still not in the other one. And if he still is, let me just double check if anybody's over here. No, it won't take anything. Well, hopefully he sees that it's here. There we go. Alexander, good. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for all the trouble, everyone. Okay. That's better. I'd ask that for any questions that you have, if I'm jabbering away, I'm not going to see the question at all. But if you do have any questions, to put battery space Mooch. You don't need hashtag, you don't need the @ symbol. It's just battery space Mooch. That'll make it nice, bright red. I can see it in chat and know it's a question as opposed to something y'all just talking back and forth between each other. James Potts, Chris, hello. Thanks for joining us. John A., thanks for coming. Mark Wilson, you had a question. MolyCell P28. You can check my test report. Link to my blog at ECF is down below. Essentially for vapors, it's the same as the P26A. There's really no difference unless you're at very low power levels. You might see slightly longer running time. Try a couple questions. Dave Flowers, I've got a new laptop with a 3-cell 8-hour battery. Any pro tips to keep it healthy? Check, was it Power Hour 8 or 9 on battery life? And there's a Minding Your Moz episode, I think 7 or 6, on extending the life of your batteries. But mostly just half charge, room temperature, when you're not using it is the best way for any battery to keep it healthy. Not keep it healthy, to help slow down the inevitable aging. Mark Wilson, I already answered the question. Alec Mann, hello from Greece. Hello and thank you for joining us. A name I'm not going to say. Is LG HB6 good for the noisy cricket? Any battery you can use. Noisy cricket, full mech series. HB6 is a 30 amp battery, but a pretty poor performer. The reason it was ever recommended is because it was the only 30 amp battery for a long time. Samsung 20S is a much better performing 30 amp battery than the one I recommend over the HB6 by far. TC08071, hello from New Jersey. Hello back. Okay, let's dive into tonight's topic. Why the hell isn't there a Mooch battery out there now? And it's not for a lack of trying. For the past couple of years, me talking now means I'm not seeing any questions, just in case anyone's putting questions there. I'll check occasionally, but really not going to be answering any questions till I take a breather. Past couple of years I've been trying, and the two, well, there's 3 approaches that I looked into. One was just finding a decent cell and putting a Mooch wrap on it, you know, like the MolyCell P26A and the P42A. But, you know, problem is, you do that, it's going to cost more, and vapors are very cost conscious. There are a lot of people who aren't going to buy it. Yeah, sure, I might do more spot checking. Well, not might. I would do a lot more spot checking. Maybe even, you know, depending on how much it costs me, have every single cell's internal resistance checked. Not its capacity. Right? I'm not going to spend 5 hours per cell. It'd be a $50 battery. But just do quick internal resistance and voltage checks for every single cell when it's rewrapped. Problem is, between what I would want extra for that and the wraps and getting them someplace to get wrapped and shipping it back out, it's a couple dollars more per cell. No one's going to pay that when they just go, oh, it's a P26A. I'm just going to buy P26A and take my chances. You know, 1 in a million. It's a dud cell. So there's that. The other options involved around taking existing cells and finding ways to protect them better, not just a rewrap, but, you know, like a 2mm rewrap, or putting it in a hard shell, or turning it into something like this, you know, the Anakin Disruptor, essentially battery pack with this for a single 18650. Problem is then, now we're asking manufacturers to adopt a new standard. The third option was to use a safer chemistry. You know, these are 3 options. What would the 3 that I considered for that I was considering as ways I could have my own battery. And I looked around, you know, safer chemistry, lithium ferrous phosphate, LiFePO4, that lower voltage chemistry, safer, but 18650s are 1100 mAh. The 26650s are 2600 mAh typically. So, you know, you're going to need a triple 18650 for moderate power levels for most of a day's vaping, and people just aren't going to do that, or dual 26650s. So that wasn't there. So basically it was the technologies weren't there and the cost wasn't there. And stuff would be a lot higher price. The technologies weren't there in terms of safe chemistry developments. Something like, let's say if I put a shell around the battery, you know, whether it's a thin plastic shell you snap it into to recess the contacts, or we're doing something, you know, like a fully protected battery pack instead of just the physical protection, you know, something like, you know, DuraWrap or EternaWrap, 2 millimeter thick, polycarbonate shell you snapped onto a cell to recess the contacts. Maybe just a eighth of an inch hole at the top and the bottom. That's plenty for a gold-plated copper contact to come through, conduct enough current. That requires all the manufacturers to say, okay, you're right. This sounds great for some extra safety. We will retool and create different devices. But now we have the other old devices, the new devices. They're not going to commit to a standard like that. Even for safety or something, they could maybe if they said, okay, yeah, but we're going to sell them for $25 each. Then they'd be like, oh, we'll adopt a new standard for that. But no one's going to buy the batteries then. The other, quote, safe chemistries, like solid state batteries, where I've seen the video, they take a pouch cell and they're snipping away at the battery and there's a LED attached to the battery and the LED is sitting there just lighting up. Nothing's smoking, nothing's happening. The battery's just like, oh, I'm a little smaller. They're great in the labs, pilot production, niche applications. Somebody comes along and says, I got $50 million to a small company, but we want the rights for 2 years and we want you to build our batteries. That'll happen. But I come along with a $250,000, $1 million or something that I could somehow get through venture capital or something like that. They're not gonna look at me for that. And they're not available in the open market, solid state batteries yet, for me to go, oh, I want a little tweak of that. Here's 200,000. I would like those tweaks. The cost is going to be too high. And when I started asking around for maybe taking something like an existing battery and tweaking the chemistry, they were talking about 3 million cells a year. Let's say, I went the easiest route. Oh, just take a decent battery, do lots of testing on it, test every cell, put a Mooch wrap on it, and we've got an intermediate, at least known step. It may not be safer, but at least we know the quality and where it's coming from. Every cell gets tested, no one gets a dud. They wanted a minimum order, 3 million cells a year. Every year, 3 million. Now, some of you may be going, well, there's 10 million vapors. Of course we can get 3 million cells. Yeah, but 9.5 million out of the 10 million vapors are pod AIO and closed systems. They're not using loose cells. Out of the 500,000 that use loose cells, 100,000 of them it would be low power, 100,000 of them would be high power, 300,000 of them wouldn't buy that battery. It's just too small. There's just no way I could do 3 million a year every year. If it's 3-year minimum order quantity, you want to be able to go in going, okay, I can do 4 to 5 million easy. You don't want to go in going, oh, I've got orders for 3 million in one battery. No. So all those things together start to add up to, it's just not the right time. The technology's not there. The costs are too high. The minimum order quantities. I'm still trying. I'm still talking to people. Different options are being looked at, combinations of options, other intermediate plans and stuff like that. But right now, it's just for some, I don't want just a little evolutionary change. I don't want to say, what's the cheapest way that I can make a little bit of money? Oh, I can take this good battery, put an okay wrap on it, check a few cells. I can make 25 cents a cell. Oh, okay, that's a few thousand a year. Let me do that. I don't want to do that. I would love the money, but I want to take an evolutionary step. I want to take a big jump, something that can provide income for me, but also be a huge step for our community in terms of safety or whatever might be involved in this newer battery. And that's what I keep looking for, and we're just not there yet. I'm not interested in making a few grand, 25 cents a cell. And then if I sell no more Mooch batteries after a year, I just go, we tried, we make a little bit of money. No, that's not what it's going to be about. So hopefully it's something that can come up soon meaning the end of the year, next year, 5 years. I don't know, but right now, I'm trying, but it's just not there yet. And time for water and a vape, and let's see what everyone's talking about. Don't everybody hit one, because I've heard about algorithms saying that is spam. Maybe not spam on my channel, but you guys keep hitting one, it could be spam for you. Um, yeah, vaping Irish. So basically, you're too much of a scientist to be a businessman. No, I'm a businessman with higher goals than just making a few grand to exploit my name or something like that. I'd rather make a fundamental difference for the community and make $1 million. Sean Thompson, what is a realistic amp output for dual parallel 30Ts? It depends on the mod. A crappily wired mod, I might tell you, 40 amps, because the sharing of current would be so uneven from the crappy wiring that you can't do anything more than just a little bit more than one battery. A well-wired one, call it 50 amps or something maybe. You really gotta, measure, you can measure the voltage of the batteries, see how close they're staying. Um, if you're measuring very different voltages between them, they're giving different amounts of current because you're getting different voltage sag. And then when the current stops, they even out. TH, I have the opportunity to buy maybe I can try that again. I have the opportunity to buy DNA 75C. One is H Cigar 26650 or Lost Vape Mirage 21700. You have an opinion about the models or battery opinion point of view? No opinion in the models. I don't know anything about either. Well, DNA 75C, it's a nice chip. Nice regulated board chip. 26650s, you're stuck with moderate performers. But for 75 watts, you could go 50, 60 watts in that thing for a while with a 2650. It's going to be up to you, form factor. 21700, so you got a lot more options. Not knowing how you vape or chain vaping, power levels, anything, the developments, advances are going to be in 21700. So I'd go there. It's not as chunky. I don't like chunky. I prefer slim. Slimmer form factors. I've always liked, little things like the clutch, magnificent little 21700 mech. So I'd go for that, but my opinion is useless for something like this. It's your personal opinion. What do you like in appearance, holding? The both, 75Cs. So it's all down to the appearance then. Battery-wise, the 21700s. Scott Bogfoot, I'd rather see a Mooch battery analyzer than a Mooch battery. Mooch battery analyzer though, $250 minimum. Low volume, something. That's something that's being looked at in the background, but it's such a tiny market. The amortized development costs could be, hundreds of dollars per unit. So I don't think it'll ever be something that's available unless it's a massive crowdfunding thing that, brings it up to high enough levels where the, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 in development costs. Remember, time counts. My time counts. I have to take off my day job to develop it. All that has to be recouped. So I need volume of sales if I have a battery analyzer. But it's still floating around in the background, along with the charger. Matt Polly, thanks for joining us. Brian Marcoux, would D batteries be a viable option if mods were manufactured for such? Probably not, because you'd need 3 or 4 of them in series. So 4 D cells would give you a low power version of a single 18650. So I'm assuming you're talking about D cells alkalines. There's just no energy density to them. Nickel metal hydrides or something like that, the same kind of problem. And they're heavy. The energy density, the capacity you can get for a certain size is very low compared to lithium-ion, which is why lithium-ion is so popular. You can take that brick for the first cell phones down to, this little tiny something. Alexander, I think he understands the demand. Keep the spamming low, please. Don't forget to add battery Mooch. What were they spamming about? Wanting something? Mitch, absolutely. Brad Palmer, a businessman with scruples? No wonder you're not rich yet. Perhaps someday. Nick McMinn, have you ever thought about working with a chip manufacturer to improve the efficiency of a chip? Say the gene chip. They're already pretty efficient. Think of it this way. I don't know, what, $40 for Yeehai chip with, 85% efficiency. Let's say I come up with one that's 95% efficiency, the DNA. I have to sell it for like $70. I can only equal the DNA. I'm not going to beat the DNA. but it's going to be the same price or more because I'm doing lower volume than the DNA. So maybe it's a $100 regulator board. Would anybody buy it? When the DNA is already so efficient and has tremendous features. I don't see an opening in the market yet for something. Now, if you come to maybe a China manufacturer and say, whoa, can we do a lower power thing at 98% efficiency? Maybe, but who's going to pay more? Or who's going to say, you know, okay, you know, I get another half hour out of the battery or something, but I have to buy this mod or that mod. It's something that might be worth thinking about if there's an opportunity there. But it'd have to be China, and there'd have to be massive volumes involved for them to go, okay, yeah, we'll redesign and add another 10% onto our efficiency. How about a Mooch regulated mod? Now, can't compete price-wise. I could do something design-wise and just put in a DNA 75C or something like that, and then a 250C, use those. But in terms of the board I would design, it wouldn't be worth it. There's not enough of a difference from what I could do. I could come up with another, DNA board equivalent, in terms of quality and efficiency and feature set and things like that. And people go, wait, I can buy the Mooch for $250, or I can get the DNA board for $70, and they buy the DNA board. Chris is building a 52-volt battery with Samsung 25Rs. Is it important? Yes. Whatever you're asking, the answer is yes. Is it important to match capacity and internal resistance, or just one of those, each parallel bank? It depends. What are your requirements? How important it is for you to keep them from drifting? Do you have a battery management system? If you don't, then those have to be matched unbelievably well. If you have a very good battery management system that you totally trust, then it's not as important to match those. Perhaps you match capacity and roughly match internal resistance. But the better you match both of those, the longer your pack is going to last, because the longer it'll take before one of the cells starts performing a lot worse than all of the others, which means replacing the cell. You can worry about it less if you make it real easy to replace cells. Then you just need a battery management system to tell you, hey, this one's crapping out. And you go, no problem. 3 minutes, I can get a new cell in there. If you're on soldering and doing all kinds of stuff, then you want really well-matched cells and a really good battery management system, because you don't want to have to try to get that cell out of that pack again to replace it. Cholo Ranch, lots of suggestions here, Mooch, about your maybe developing a gene chip. Good idea? I mean, I like the gene chip. They're saying, develop a better version of the gene chip. I'd have to look. Actually, I haven't used it more than a couple minutes of someone else's mod. Oh wait, but is there only one version of a gene chip? That's the one thing that I'm confusing now. I have to say, there are always opportunities for a better version, but it's China having to say, okay, but what can we do to make it better? People aren't going to spend money really for slightly better efficiency. I think they're going to say, better features, better screen, for the big volumes of sales. But it's something to write down. And I think if a lot of people are talking about it, I'm getting chips confused in my head. That whole startup thing has got me all forgetting everything. Battery Mooch, does you use bicycle, use batteries? No, I use pedal power. Dakota, what's up? Battery Mooch mech mod, I'd buy in a heartbeat. I've talked about that stuff on and off. Who knows, maybe someday. And at least, I'd like to kind of have input on, not the looks maybe, I don't know if I'm qualified for that. I just like, industrial minimalism, stainless steel and just a little wasted or something, because I think that's comfortable as opposed to a straight tube. Looks-wise, I'm not much for anything other than very plain, but in terms of what goes on the inside, it could be interesting. Johnny67 Dev, welcome. Nefarian got the Unicorn Vert as his first mech. I'm very surprised how much he likes it. Didn't think he would. Excellent. Toby Junk Mail, greetings from Germany. Hello, and thank you for joining us. We've got, I'm going to keep an eye on this, about 20 plus minutes. Ferris Hesham is looking for a good 30 amp, I guess battery. Samsung 20S, I guess 18650. Samsung 20S. It's the only 30 amp. Well, no, there's the LG HB6, but I'm not even remotely going to recommend that. Stefan Sard, a Steve Kennedy Mooch collab, I would buy that in a heartbeat. Yeah, I have to contact him about getting the copper housing for the Vindicator, because I tested the all stainless one. But there wasn't a copper housing included with mine, because I'd like to use that, and I have a Ruby I also want to test too. Chris, when dealing with parallel cells, am I right in saying that a parallel link is only for current to pass between the cells to balance the parallel bank? Well, no, because any of the current, it all depends where you're taking the tap. Let's say you got a row of cells all in parallel and you have a tap in the middle to pull the current out of it. All the current from all the cells is passing through all the links. If each cell has a separate wire coming out and running to one, now the inter-cell links are only handling imbalance, which by the way, can be several amps, depending on how well the cells are matched. It really depends how are you taking taps off from that. That's why, just using big sheets of metal for parallel cells is often used, because then it just takes care of whatever way the current wants to flow. Everyone's talking about Mooch Mech. It's just got a nice ring to it too. Oh, the Unicorn Vert you guys are talking about? Actually, now that I'm looking at the screen, if you guys are all saying something when I was talking, like Mooch developed this, Mooch developed that, start saying it now when I'm looking at the screen. Because I do talk to my patrons about it. I talk to them about everything. 90% of my posts, only my patrons see. So this is a chance for people who aren't my patrons to get me to look at these things. Because I'm not seeing all the chats everywhere else across the interwebs. Ashley, Davis Brown, battery Mooch in front. Just to make sure I see it, I did catch this time. Do you think those 20Ss are actually better or harder hitter than the VTC 5A? Yes. I still prefer my A's over the 20S. Am I nuts? No. Whatever you think is better, that's the better battery to use. In my testing, the 20Ss hit harder. It's really, really hard to know all the variables and then control all the variables when comparing two batteries. So testing is actually much harder than we think. Our own casual testing. We've got a 20S and a VTC 5A. Let me see how they perform for me. That's actually much harder than people think. But whichever one you think is right, that's exactly the battery to use. I can just tell you in testing which one performs better, but that doesn't mean you're going to see it during your use because of all the other variables that come along once we start using it while we're vaping. Our mood, the temperature, the juice, who we're hanging out with, all these other things, how we're charged or discharged, temperature of the battery, can affect which one we feel is better. There's not a fundamental difference between them, but the 20S, at least when I'm sitting down and I'm very carefully comparing them, I can feel a difference, like in the mechs that I use. But boy, that's like talking to no one and just really carefully comparing and taking that out of you, moving it between them, and always keeping it the same temperature, etc. A real pain in the ass. Scott Bogfoot, are built-in battery mods that double as a portable battery pack any less safe over time, especially when using, I don't know, it's up to the individual device. The model number design is important, but then also what was the assembly, the build quality for that particular unit? Was there a little piece of metal that's floating around inside? Is there a solder ball that's stuck between two pins that could come loose later and cause a short circuit? There's nothing inherent about a power bank mod. I guess what you're asking. Built-in battery mods that double as a battery pack, so you can get current out of it. So it's a power bank to, let's say, charge your phone, or you can use it as a device. There's nothing inherently less reliable about it. It's really how well did they do the design and how well did they build it. Dave Blackman, Battery Mooch in front of it, battery space Mooch, so I can see these. I caught it because there's a question right after yours. I'm a low wattage, 11 to 20 watt vapor. What is your recommendation for a single 18650 regulated mod? I don't have any recommendations for mods. I really don't. I keep mine for years. I mean, you know, I've been using this. Still one of my favorites after, I don't know, what's it, 3 years now? 2, 3 years? Um, and I'm not vaping down at that power levels, so I don't have any recommendations for a single on there, but other people in chat might. Your favorite Facebook groups or Reddit are fantastic for that because you'll meet hundreds of people who are vaping the way you do and would have recommendations, having owned them and be able to tell you their buying decisions and how happy they were with the decisions. Robbie Nix, how are you doing this evening? Okay. Hope you're doing well, but do you think that 26650 batteries will make a return in the vaping world again? No, never. Never. They were an old technology when we adopted them. There are no new advances coming in 26650s. It's a legacy cell that's made only by the smaller China factories. None of the big manufacturers have made them for years. They will not make a return. There's no market for 26650s for a company to spend millions of dollars tooling up existing technology in a 26650 form factor coming up with the cells. You've got 5,000 milliampere hour 21700s, and the biggest 26650 is 5,500 milliampere hours. So 21700s at a much smaller size are almost the same capacity, and they'll only get better because that's where the development dollars are going. Ashley, you're welcome. Alpha 007 Ord. It's got a very expensive sports watch. Does it matter for battery wellness if I don't charge it to 100%? No, it's better for the life of the battery. I don't let it go lower than 10%. Does this help? Yes. The smaller, if this is 100 and this is 0, the more you can do this, the happier it is. 10 to 90, that's better. 20 to 80, even better. 45 to 55, that's incredible. That battery's gonna last forever, assuming it's not otherwise damaged or abused when it is charged, when it's being stored, etc. and so forth. Assuming all those variables are good, the narrower you can make the charge to storage window, the better. And you want it sort of in the middle. You don't want to go 4.0 to 4.2. That keeps the battery almost fully charged all the time. Higher voltage means higher energy, faster chemical reactions, faster degradation, faster aging, doesn't last as long. So somewhere in the middle. Like I do, like for my phones, my tablets, everything, I'm at like 20 to 80% whenever I can. If it's not convenient or if I know I'm gonna be outside for a long time, go to 100%. Sometimes, it goes all the way down to 0%. Don't freak out about it. It's just overall, I try to keep 20 to 80. You can use any number you want. Stian Halverson, do you think it's possible to really make a mech arcless? No. But I think you can bring a mech to the point where the arcing is so insignificant that it's almost maintenance free. Let's say, a lot of mechs you have to clean or maintain once or twice a day. I think it's possible to come up with one that's, once a week for a heavy mech user. You just gotta get some simple changes. Well, actually not so simple. Simple in concept, but it can be harder in manufacture at a decent price point, I should say. Things like the metal type and all that, not as much. Actually, that may not be true. There may be certain metals or alloys that don't arc as much as others, but that I don't know about. I haven't found a lot online about that. You look at hard silver and things like that, which are used in contacts for relays and contactors for high current switches. But the hard silver is what they always use. So I would just start with that, and then you work with shape and smoothness and stuff like that. Johnny 67 Depp, I had so long to use the 26650 battery that when I finally picked one up, it felt like a piece of Chernobyl. Hopefully not because it was hot. Brad Palmer, do you think lead carbon is a reasonable alternative as a leisure battery? Lead carbon, I'm not familiar with that in the slightest. Sounds like something that came out of the 1920s, like literally, like the old dry cells would have been lead carbon or something like that. I don't know anything about them. Defarian, What's the best battery for a low power, single coil, number of coils doesn't matter, regulated mod, 11 to 20 watt? That's the second 11 to 20 watt question. Maybe this is about the battery now. Okay, so you've got one battery, number of coils wouldn't matter, one coil or 100 million coils, doesn't matter. It's the wattage you're trying to fire them at that matter. Core resistance doesn't matter either in a regulated mod, just the power setting. So you're at 20 watts, 18650, I'm assuming. I would say Panasonic NCR 18650GA. If not that, the LG MJ1. They're both, around 3,400 milliampere hours. Use them up to about 20 watts maximum. If you're going over 20 watts, then the 30Q or VTC6, you need a higher efficiency battery in order to handle that, if you're at 25 or 30 watts. Brian Marcoux, off topic. I love the coffee mug. Yeah, this is one of my, definitely one of my faves. Fairs Hessian, battery mooch at the beginning, so I definitely see it. You're between two questions, so I happen to catch it. I'm pushing around 22 amps with my EFS purple metallic batteries and a mech. Is it safe? Well, most important thing is no battery use is safe, period. These batteries are never meant to be used outside of a fully protected battery pack, and you are using them at your own risk. All we can do is try to keep the risks from rising a whole lot more by never misusing them and never mishandling them. Now, you don't say which battery you have, because there are a lot of EFS purple metallic batteries. I don't know, half dozen of them at least, if not a dozen total for older models and newer models that are still floating around out there. It's just the 3,000 milliampere hour 18650. That's a popular EFS battery. It's a 20 amp battery rated by them, so 22 amps can't possibly be considered safe on a battery that already isn't safe. Also, if you're going over the rating, if you're going anywhere near the true rating, in addition to the risks going up, you're getting lower performance because of the increased voltage sag, and you're shortening the life of the battery. It's just not a good choice. These 3,000 milliamp hour batteries are just not a good choice for a mech. Use a Molicel P26A or VTC5A, VTC5D, something like those. A Samsung 20S for the hardest hitting battery for 18650 mech. Fog Dog, I put a married pair in the charger and didn't notice until later that one of them wasn't seated, so wasn't charging. Reseated, waited till both to charge. Still married? Yes. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hour or two here, they're charging. Just make sure that both fully charged up to the same point, namely fully charged until the charger turns off, because that's how you rebalance them, bring them to the same voltage every time. By doing that, it doesn't matter what happens in the device. If they, one goes lower than the other or something like that, or you accidentally drain one, I don't know what. But if you put them in the charger, bring them both up until the charger turns off, even 1 hour later than another, that's okay. If you do one a week later than the other, put the other one in also to top it off. And now they're balanced and they're back to a good marriage again. Alpha 007 org, €5, super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you for our answer. So watch my 20 to 80%. This is what doing, but other experts are always telling me otherwise. Alpha, what are the other experts? I'm not an expert, so what are the experts telling you that was the best thing to do? Maybe they know something I don't. Asfodhell, am I reading that wrong? Asfodhell, do you charge your batteries from time to? Do you charge all your batteries from time to time? The ones you got for testing purposes, or you're just stocking them in appropriate boxes and let them die? Once a year or so, I check if any of them are a little low and give them a little bit of a top off. That's about it. The charger testing ones, I look at every couple of months because I need those in better condition. But otherwise, I just kind of make sure they're kind of floating in the middle. A couple of them, after like 4 or 5 years, they just, I pull them out, a year later, and they're 0 volts, and they get they get retired, recycled. Allium Littlefoot Vape Z, battery space mooch at the front, please, everybody. Battery space mooch. You don't need hashtags, you don't need ad symbols. It's battery space mooch. Make sure I see it. I want to be able to see the questions so people aren't, complaining like crazy. Oh, you don't answer my question. Where are you? Best 18350. Check the link to my blog at ECF down below. you'll find a link to my recommended batteries tables, the 318 350s that used all the same cell under the wrap, any one of those three. Matt Polly, just wanted to say thank you. Pulled out some P26As I bought months back to introduce to my cycle. One was over discharged, so off to recycle. Would have revived if it wasn't for power hours. Good, I'm glad you're not trying to revive it. Just not worth it. They can be damaged. You know, we just got to eat the cost. Tola Ranch, y'all need to preface questions to Mooch with You don't need the @ symbol. Just battery Mooch, battery space Mooch. No pound, no hashtag, no @ Hey, battery Mooch, Tracy. Thompson asks, out here at Bike Week in Daytona, how are you tonight? I'm good, Tracy, thank you. Hope you enjoyed Bike Week. That sounds awesome. Justin, good advice. Okay, we got about 7 minutes. Vans, 1208. What do you do with your retired batteries? Recycle them. Tape over the positive end and recycle them. I have many retired batteries. My roommate cases, not sure what to do. Double tape over the positive end so there's no chance of short circuiting. And home improvement stores have battery recycling bins. Some cell phone shops, large electronics chain stores have battery recycling bins. If you're in a smaller town that doesn't have a store like that, your municipal recycling center where you might bring air conditioners, refrigerators and stuff probably has a battery recycling bin. But you can call up City Hall, Town Council, City Council or something and ask them where you might be able to bring them. But tape them up and recycle them. Definitely don't toss them. Alpha 007, experts are in quotes for a reason, like phone discharge 0%, 100% is the best for battery. Okay, you bring up an interesting point. 0 to 100% is not good for the battery. 0 to 100% every couple of months, not for our devices, not for our mods, but for tablets and phones. Things that have, actually, even for built-in battery mods, it can be good too. You want to recalibrate. The chip that tells you the percentage slowly drifts over time, and the accuracy gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Every time you cycle it, it might drift 1%. So after you recharge 60 times, you might be off a significant percentage of being correct in telling you what your battery is. By discharging all the way to 0, charging all the way to 100% every couple of months in a device with an internal battery you can't replace, then you're recalibrating the chip. But that takes life from the battery. That one cycle you're removing from the battery. For the battery, narrow discharge range, calibrating the chip 0 to 100% fully, I mean 24-hour charge and a full discharge, slow. That's good for recalibrating the chip. That may be what is leading to the conflicting advice. One's for the chip, one's for the battery. Z-Man, Mooch, hope you had an awesome weekend. Looking forward to more testing on mech mods. Yeah, I gotta find a way to get some in for me because I can't afford the thousands to buy the mechs. But hopefully, some will be coming in. Ruben, yes, that worked perfectly. David Amonette, have there been any significant advancements in permeable membrane separators? All our separators are permeable, every single one, because that's the only way the lithium ions can go back and forth. So they're all our insulators for electrons, but are permeable for lithium ions, which always weirded me out because the lithium ions are bigger than electrons. So that's it. Conceptually, my brain just goes, what? Bigger holes won't let electrons through? Fascinating technology through that. Well, if you're a hopeless nerd, it's fascinating. So always advancements for that, like some of the latest advancements, the shutdown separators, the battery gets to a certain temperature, the separator starts to melt and all the holes fill in and stops the current flow. Love that. It's sort of like a fuse or a circuit breaker. Now there's the solid ones now where they're using sheets of glass and sheets of ceramic for the solid state batteries and no liquid electrolyte, just solid positive and negative part with a solid glass or ceramic separator. Very low current, still in development, very fragile. Hoping in a few years though, that starts coming out because the safety is significantly increased on that. Outback Vaping, where can I get good S4 and S6 lipos? 4S and 4 and 6S in series. I don't have any vendors to recommend. There's Hobby Lobby and some others, but I can't give any manufacturers. I don't have any manufacturers to recommend. Let's give it 3 minutes. Cornfly, please folks, battery Mooch in front. Do magnets affect batteries? No. I was thinking of making some kind of magnet holder for my mom, but I'm not sure it's safe. No, there's nothing, an unbelievably powerful battery. You know, if you're next to a particle accelerator, uh, you might have a problem. Um, but otherwise, no, it's not going to affect it. Drowsy, what are the origins of the hat peak bend? Cheers, mate. Cheers. Um, the, this is a flat brim hat, so the question confuses me a little bit. Um, I have a really cheap lens on this phone, so maybe it's giving it a little bit, just a little bit of a curve there, but that's just distortion in the lens. Okay, yeah. When I was a kid, I spent some summers on the ranch out of Montana, the relatives, and I liked it. I liked the style. I just liked the way it looked. It's something that's a little different. I was never a flat brim person. So ever since I was, what was I, 10 years old, I've always had, whenever a baseball style cap, I've always had the super bent brim. Alpha 007, yes, this I am telling them. Thank you, love you. Don't tell my girlfriend. Our love must remain a secret. See, man, wow, whatever you're enjoying recreationally, I want in. Sean Box, $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Sean. Love the work you do. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Gino Fugel. Hello, Mooch. I have some skill in 3D printing and electrical engineering. I'm thinking of transporting my smartphone into a 3D printed mod that can hold 6 21700s. What do you think of this idea? If you don't mind a 2 kilo weighing device, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. This is personal preference kind of thing. You know, if it's going in your car or if it's at home, that's okay. It's not quite pocketable anymore, but I love homebrewed ideas, whatever they are, particularly if you have 3D printing skills, because mine would just be a bunch of duct tape and stuff like that, my version of it. And we are about to end here. In fact, let's end. Fares Hesham, no recommendations for a mech tube, but everybody, not another vape show. Great topics tonight. They gotta be. Tell them Mooch sent you, and I will see you guys in the chat over there. Everyone, thank you for joining me here tonight, and we're back Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and then next Sunday, and we'll see how this all turns into. Thanks again, everybody. Take care.